Let's be honest, pastors, preaching about money is difficult, even awkward sometimes. If you start talking about it more, are people going to say you're preaching a self-serving message? Will they feel like you're pressuring them? Will they think you see them just as an opportunity to bring revenue rather than as an actual person? All of that is completely understandable. The few bad eggs out there, the pastors wrapped up in financial scandals, they've shaped how some people view ministry and money in a pretty negative way. But the reality is, of course, you're not a pastor after money, you're after people. So how do you talk about that? How do you ensure your people know that when you mention money, you're coming from a sincere place, a biblical perspective? Because biblically, money is a big deal. Jesus spoke about it often in his parables, and over 2,000 verses talk about money, possessions, or stewardship. If we shy away from this topic, we're actually leaving a massive discipleship gap in the lives of our people. So we're going to talk about 3 common mistakes that pastors make when preaching about money and what you can do to avoid them. All right, mistake 1 is treating money like it's a taboo topic. A lot of pastors either avoid money altogether or only mention it in passing. And when they do that, it comes with disclaimers like, I don't want to talk about money, but the Bible talks about it, so I got to talk about it too. And here's the problem with that. When we treat money as taboo, the congregation learns to do the same. They start to think money is somehow unspiritual. But Scripture doesn't shy away from money at all. Let's think about Matthew 6:21. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Jesus is teaching that money is really one of the clearest indicators of our spiritual priorities. If you never bring it up, people are left to navigate one of life's most powerful forces without any kind of biblical guidance. Instead, you have to normalize it. Talk about money as naturally as you talk about prayer or serving or evangelism. Make it clear that money is deeply connected to discipleship. All right, mistake number 2 is talking about numbers instead of discipleship. We work with thousands of ministries, and this is something that we see all the time. It's all too common to see churches reduce giving talks to budget updates and just financial goals. Those aren't bad things to talk about, but that really only is a small piece of the money conversation. It is definitely not the heart of it. People don't give to cover expenses. They give to see the church open its doors to new people, to see the gospel shared with underserved groups, or to see local and global mission outreach. If you want your people to engage, you need to connect giving directly to kingdom impact. So remember to frame money not as something the church needs, but as a tool God will use to spread the gospel. You won't find a generous heart in charts or spreadsheets, but you will in a room that is fired up about making ministry real. And then on to mistake number 3. Mistake 3 is only talking about money when you need it. This is probably the most common mistake. Many churches address generosity as a last resort when there's a financial crisis or a noticeable dip in giving or a fundraising campaign for a new building. But if the only time you talk about money is when you need money, you're once again reducing money to transactions instead of discipleship. It trains people to think the pastor only brings this up when they're in the red. But generosity is not a stopgap for financial problems. It's one of the fruits of discipleship. So if you think you don't need to talk about money because your church is financially stable, think again. You need to make it a priority. Think about Paul's encouragement in 2 Corinthians chapters 8 and 9. He wasn't raising money to fix a leaky roof. He was calling the church into the joy of generosity. He framed giving as grace, as worship, as participation in God's work. When we only talk about money reactively, we miss the chance to shape people's perception of it proactively. We miss the chance to connect their giving to God's bigger story, which, by the way, is much bigger than you and much bigger than me. So what does this mean for you as a pastor? Well, first, don't avoid the topic, normalize it. Show your people that money is part of spiritual formation. Second, don't make it about covering costs, make it about discipleship and impact. And third, don't wait for crisis. Teach generosity consistently so it becomes a rhythm of faith, not a reaction to need. So here's the bottom line. Preaching about money doesn't have to feel awkward. When you approach it as discipleship, generosity becomes less about meeting a budget and much more about shaping hearts for the kingdom. Here's a great way to jumpstart this in your church. We have a free 4-part sermon series called Be Generous. Dr. Marty Baker created and preached this series in his church, and it made a huge impact, not just on giving, but on volunteering and engagement. The Be Generous series kit gives you sermon transcripts, graphics, really everything you need to engage your congregation on the topic of generosity. We've already seen it help so many ministries. We want it to help yours too. It's a totally free resource. All you have to do is go to the link below to grab it. Now, thanks for watching. Every week, we release new videos to help pastors and church leaders with topics like engagement, leading churches, building generosity. So be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.